In March of 1922, on a remote farm in Bavaria, Germany, 6 people were murdered with a pickaxe. But the murders were not the most disturbing part. Someone had been living in the house with the bodies, eating their food, feeding the animals, and staying there for days after the killings. More than 100 years later, the case remains officially unsolved. This is the story of the Hinterkaifeck Murders. Hinterkaifeck was a small, isolated farm located between the Bavarian towns of Ingolstadt and Schrobenhausen. It was home to Andreas Gruber, age 63, his wife Cecilia Gruber, age 72, their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, age 35, Victoria's 2 children, Cecilia, 7, and Joseph, 2, and the family's new maid, Maria Baumgartner. The farm was remote. The nearest neighbors were several hundred meters away, and in the days before the murders, strange things began happening. Andreas Gruber told neighbors he had found unexplained footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the farmhouse. There were no footprints leading back. He also reported hearing footsteps in the attic at night, finding a newspaper he did not buy, discovering that one of the house keys had gone missing. Despite these warnings, no one contacted authorities. Life continued until March 31, 1922. On the evening of March 31st, one by one, members of the family were lured into the barn. There they were murdered with a mattock, a farming tool similar to a pickaxe. The victims were Andreas, Cecilia, wife, Victoria, and young Cecilia, age 7. The 2-year-old Joseph was killed inside the house. So was the maid, Maria Baumgartner, who had only started working there that day. All 6 were dead. But what investigators discovered next made the case far more disturbing. When neighbors became concerned days later and entered the property, they found something chilling. The animals had been fed. Fresh food had been eaten. Smoke had been seen coming from the chimney after the estimated time of death. Someone had stayed on the farm for several days after the murders, living among the bodies. Authorities believed the killer may have hidden in the attic before the crime, possibly watching the family, waiting. Over 100 suspects were questioned. Among them, former employees, local residents, Victoria's former suitors, even traveling workers. One strong suspect was Carl Gabriel, Victoria's husband, who had supposedly died in World War I. Rumors spread that he may have survived the war and returned, but no conclusive evidence ever confirmed this theory. Despite extensive investigations, no one was convicted. The crime scene was poorly preserved. Crowds of curious onlookers walked through the house before proper forensic examination. The bodies were autopsied, but later, during World War II, many official records were lost. The farmhouse was demolished in 1923. Today, nothing remains of Hinterkaifeck but open land. More than a century later, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved. No confirmed killer, no definitive motive, only footprints in the snow, and the terrifying possibility that someone was living above the family's heads, waiting for the right moment. Like, comment, and subscribe for more documentaries like this.